Proteus uses the power of your computer's graphics card to increase the speed of the display and the clarity of the display. This is a brief summary of the options open to you when working in OpenGL mode. To configure the graphics on your PC, go up to the System menu and go down to Set Display Options. In this dialog, the very first line will tell you whether or not your PC will support OpenGL or OpenGL with hardware acceleration. In this case, this PC has OpenGL graphics supported in hardware. The next section selects the opacity of the particular displays. In this example, the solder resist and the solder paste mask layers could be turned down, and therefore their prominence would be less obvious in the actual display on your computer screen. Likewise, the current layer that is being displayed can be controlled by the slider and the background layer. The dimmed objects layer can also be controlled with the last slider. By setting the background layer to maximum, you will essentially disable the transparency option. The next section allows us to control the panning options for the board. Here you can select the distance moved, the smoothness of the scroll, and the speed in which the panning will take place. It will be necessary for you to adjust the parameters to meet your particular requirements and the options within your PC. The highlight animation options allows you to control what happens when the mouse is placed over an object. Setting the attack rate to maximum will cause objects to highlight instantly. Equally, the release rate will select how quickly the highlight disappears. Finally, the multi-sampling combo box allows you to set the anti-aliasing for the display. The higher the supported number, the better the display of text in the application. You should also note that the multi-sampling rate can add significant demands to the graphics card and therefore the operating speed of your PC. Using the OpenGL graphics offers you several advantages over the standard graphics options in your PC, not to mention the least of which would be the fact that the display will redraw in about 20 times faster, and therefore providing you with a much smoother and more dynamic display as you scroll in and out. In order to move around the display, you can simply hold down the Shift key and simply go up and touch the edges of the work area in order to move around the display without changing the zoom level you're at. Of course, in order to zoom in, you can simply scroll in. It should also be noted that if you select a component and then slide it to a new location, the display will automatically move underneath the component until you get it to the location where you'd like to place it. Obviously, in this case, we have placed it outside the work area, and that would be a problem. In order to move it back into the work area, we can simply go ahead and select Ctrl-Z from the keyboard, and the component is now back into its original position. The Proteus Through View technology allows us to see multiple layers of the board at the same time. Here, if we scroll in, we can see the red, which is the top copper trace layer of the board, the blue, which is the bottom trace on the board, as well as the gray, which is one of the inner layers which is being used as a power plane here. The red layer is currently selected and is being shown most prominently. If we select the spacebar, we can switch between any of the pairs that are identified and therefore see the adjacent pair. The pair's layers are controlled on the Technology tab. Essentially, as you select items on a particular layer, that layer then becomes the current layer. This is very intuitive because the current layer is displayed most prominently. The Through View technology is still active and allows us to see the other layers. It should also be noted that when you select between the trace function and the zone function, the zone then becomes most prominent on your display when you're working with your power planes. To edit the options for the layer views, go up to the View tab and down to Edit Layers. In here you'll have the options to set different layers that are being displayed, as well as the full solder resist and the solder paste. Also on the tab you'll have the options to set the through view technology to your particular requirements. Many of the through view options that we have talked about here are also appropriate for use in the schematic capture ISIS. If you go up to the System menu, you'll find a Display Options where you can set your particular requirements.